Okay, when Torah Or Parshat Noach, page 10. The Rabbi is saying, how do you bring down this level of Kedusha down here? He says it's through Torah. But then he starts saying Torah is really only the explanation of the mitzvahs. The actual mitzvahs are even greater. That's where it starts, like 12 lines in the bottom of the page. But the body, the actual physical mitzvah, like tefillin, sukkah, mitzvah, tzedakah. Shenamar, that it says, "V'hoya ma'aseh tzedakah." The action of tzedakah, chadema, shehein hem retzoni is barich. There's the will of Hashem. Shalamar mitam v'das, which is higher than logic that comes from chachma, because mitzvahs are not logical. Mitzvahs are not intellect. Torah is intellect. Torah is seichel. Mitzvahs are the will of Hashem. And because mitzvahs come from a higher source than Torah. Torah is wisdom. This is willpower. Therefore, it comes into physical things that you can't understand. Meaning, because mitzvahs are greater, they fall down lower into action, which is not logical. There's logic and there's action. This is action. Chazal say, l'chakima b'remiza, for a chacham, a hint is enough. Why? Something which is very, very deep, it's impossible to reveal with speech because it's way above speech. It's only with the hint. You show him with the finger or something. There's a story with Al Rebbe when he was in prison. The Russians wanted to interview him. They had a lot of questions about Yiddishkeit, about Chassidus and doctrines of Chassidus. Anyway, one of the final questions they asked Al Rebbe, which was a very difficult question, that in Chassidus it says, after Al Rebbe answered all the questions very well, to their satisfaction, then I believe the question was, it says in Chassidus that Malchus, Malchus is nothing of its own, only what is given from above. Malchus is the lowest, and so they took it to mean Malchus, the Russian Tsar is nothing. So it's a very difficult question to answer. So Lepel, it says, I think that was the question. The Alter Rebbe just smiled at them, as if to say, no, it wasn't that question. It was a different question. It was a different question. Huh? No, it wasn't. Well, whatever. So the Alter Rebbe just smiled, and this, as if to say, I answered all the other questions. If I answer this question, it's not going to be what you want to hear. So just let's leave it. So the Alter Rebbe smiled, and they accepted the answer. And the Rebbe explains, because it was a level that the Rebbe wanted to bring into like this level of Remiza, just to... mitzvah is the same thing, action mitzvahs. Because they come from such a lofty place, which are which is the will of Hashem, which is higher than understanding. Like we said, willpower, rots and mitzvahs, is higher than seichel. Therefore, it's impossible to come revealed down here. By coming into gashmistic things. Because the beginning is wedged in the end. So he says like this: Torah, which is understanding, comes into the brain, into intellect. Willpower, mitzvahs, must come, when they come down, they must come into the gashmistic things, because it's above seichel, and therefore it has to come down dafke, like in a hidden thing like this. And that's why it says in the pasuk, these are the things. In other words, after the meditation, after the level that he says the Mayim Rabim can. So then he says, what do you need? The physical mitzvahs. The whole concept of Krishma, of Shema, is Rakis Bain, is Memchinish Meisava Yisbarach. To meditate into the name, we say, what is Shema? Shem, Ayin. that the ayin, meaning the 7 midas, each one composed of 10, is only a slight revelation of Hashem. So he says you have to meditate that everything in the world is only a ray of Hashem, a name of Hashem. It's not even close to the essence of Hashem. And then you come to the level v'yahavta b'chol levavcha, that you love Hashem, until you come to the level of ava b'chol meidecha. Like he said, you come to the level of b'chol meidecha. Next page. Shilichol l'davka b'muhus v'atzmosi yizbarich mamish, to cling to the essence of Hashem. In other words, through meditation, we create b'chol levavcha b'chol meidecha, this tremendous connection between the Jew and Hashem. But then the pasuk says, how do you keep this connection? Is only by physical mitzvahs. Davka, by doing mitzvahs, it's like the Rebbe explains in Tanya, after Matan Torah, this fabulous revelation, the greatest revelation that ever happened until Mashiach's coming, it says, was the revelation of Matan Torah. This is all a great thing. Right away, Hashem sent him to build the Mishkan. Why? Because in order for this great revelation to continue, there had to be a physical action of making a physical Mishkan with physical avodah and all that. Just like he says, in order to keep this level b'chol meidecha, this strong bond with Hashem, it can only come through physical mitzvahs. And that's why when people say, why do I need to do mitzvahs? We learned the Kabbalistic Jew. I'm a Jew in my heart. If it doesn't come into physical actions, it's worthless. That's why, even in any relationship, can you imagine in a marriage, a guy tells his wife, "Oh, I love you so much. With all my heart, I love you, but that's it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing anything for you." The guy said, "What do you want? I love you with all my heart. You can take my heart. You can take it. But I'm not doing anything for you. Because if it doesn't come into action..."
Is this the same thing we learned, that anything coming to the highest level has to have a kli?
It has to have a vessel, and the vessel has to be in the lowest parts of the person, meaning in the action of the person.
So it's the same thing?
Same exact thing.
Brit Milah.
Huh?
Brit Milah.
Bris Milah, yeah, all those things. Or any physical mitzvah for that matter. And v'yav shezayis kimaydei kim mitzvaysev. What did I just see last night? The quote from the Rabbi to somebody, that it's the simple actions that make two people, from I and you, into us. The simple actions make two, you and I, into us, into one entity. So it has to be the physical actions.
When it's saying I love you is an action.
No, it's not.
You go home and tell your wife that.
It says, the pasuk continues, as they say in part of America, is who I is, meaning the essence. Is the essence of Hashem. In other words, how do you get the... I told you the story. The Friedrich Rebbe was once for bringing, it's brought down, not in the Sichas, but the Friedrich Rebbe was once for bringing, and it was a very good, geschmack for bringing. So, and it came time for Mincha, so one of the Chassidim turned the clock back. Then he continued, like the Alter Rebbe used to do with the Maggid's son. So obviously the Friedrich Rebbe realized it. So he said to them, I remember what the introduction was, the punchline was, with a simple mincha, you connect to the essence. And for bringing is all good and fine, but the simple practical mitzvah of davening mincha connects to the essence. And therefore, Asher Neichi mitzvah will be connected to the essence of Hashem through mitzvahs, v'lei b'chinas bilvad. Not only on a ray, mitzvah chayidei kiyam maitzis dafka, how do you connect to a neichi? Through mitzavcha, through the concept of physical mitzvahs. And it says hayom, then the pasuk continues, what do you mean today? Today means dafka. Only when the neshama is in the body. Because in Gan Eden there's no physical mitzvah. Right? That's why it's important for a Jew to live as long as possible, because only through physical mitzvahs can you connect to the essence. So that's what the pasuk says. All these things, the mitzvahs and the meditation that you want to connect to Hashem, Asher Anechi, which comes from the level of Anechi, from the essence of Hashem, through the mitzvahs, is only Hayim when you do the physical mitzvah in the physical world. But before the neshama comes into the body, and even after it leaves the body, it's only enjoying the ray of the Shechina. And that's what it said, which is the words of Torah, like it said, Akimas, verbal articulation is considered action. Therefore, when you learn Torah, not like in certain cases talk is cheap. When you learn, because it's a mitzvah to speak like that, then it's considered an action. And that's what the pasuk continued. We have a little sister. What does achas literally mean? A sister. Here he says achas is from the word achas. It becomes one. It becomes united ultimately. You become mamish one with Hashem. Mitzvahs through the physical mitzvahs. So the Alter Rebbe ripped apart this whole pasuk of Mayim Rabim Liyuchel Lechabes Soava, which represents the turmoils and the meditation and all the great things. But the bottom line is, it needs to have the physical mitzvahs to make the ultimate level of connection. Like a person who hugs his friend, mikol tzedada from all sides, and then it becomes achiseinu. Then it becomes the level of oneness. The person ultimately becomes one with Hashem. Okay, this Maimah will finish, but it's already Thursday, so we'll just continue. And he said, to understand what he said before, he said, Alter Rebbe said before, that Bal Esek, because they're involved in the world, and they come along and say, we have no time for davening because we're rushed, he says, Adarabah. On the contrary, by a Bal Esek, by a business person, it's more, Alter Rebbe said this before in the Maimer, davening is more important than it is for a yeshiva boy. So he says, to understand the descent of the neshama, which is the spark of godliness that comes into this world, into the physical body. To be constantly worried with the worries of parnas and everything else. And the hot air of this world, so he says that you need it's a tremendous descent. What's the purpose of the descent? We must say, it's for the sake of elevation. Like we learned, you don't invest $100 to make $100. The Gemara says, you buy it for 100, you sell it for 100. That's called a businessman. The Gemara says, obviously, if the neshama is coming down, and that's part of the plan that the neshama should come down. So obviously, the purpose of the neshama coming down is there should be an aliyah afterwards. And he says, that after he comes into the body in nefesh habamis, can the neshama be elevated? In other words, dafka through the gashmiastic challenges and tests and difficulties and all that stuff, can the neshama reach l'mayla through the ava b'chol meidach, which is believable. Only then can you reach the infinite level. Well, like we quoted before the Gemara, Tev ze malachayim, ma'id ze malachamavetz. Vayara lekimes kol asher otzav inei tev ma'id. The last thing at the end of creation, Hashem saw everything that He made. V'inei tev ma'id. It was very good. So the Gemara says Tev refers to the level of kedusha, and ma'id is the malachamavetz, meaning evil. Because the only way you can reach the level of ma'id is by having a nefesh habamis and by having the difficulties of olam hazeh. Okay, that's only when it comes through the love of the Nefesh Habamis, the Malach HaMavis. Right, the Gemara says, it's Malach HaMavis, Malach HaMavis. It's all the same thing. In other words, only through the Nefesh Habamis having a love for Hashem do you attain a higher level of love than the Nefesh Elokis has. Why? Just like we see down here in the physical world, a behemoth is stronger than a person. And we learned, Rebbe explains in other places, in the Torah, all over the place. Chassidus explains the pasuk that says, Rav Tvos b'koyach sherd. If you want to get a lot of grain done, you want to make a lot of grain, you use it an axe. Rav Tvos, you want to get a lot of grain, b'koyach sherd. So question, we know that you use an animal to plow. What's the pasuk telling us? So the Rebbe explains, it means in a spiritual sense. In Gashmias, people are governed by intellect, and behemoths are governed by feelings, instinct. There's no seichel by a behemoth. There's instinct, or midas, as it's called. A human's midas, ava, yira, no matter what it is, are not as strong and powerful as an animal's. Because intellect automatically calms down and cools intellect. In other words, I can love somebody very, very much, but then my seichel comes and tells me, 1 minute, but that's somebody else, not me. I have to love myself more. So it cools down the midah. Or somebody fears something, and seichel comes along and says, you know what, big deal, there's nothing to fear. So that's why when somebody gets very excited, very emotional, you say, cool it. What does cool it? Cool it means take your seichel and calm it down. Behemoths don't have that seichel. So therefore, the midah of a behemoth, ava, whatever an animal has, is much more powerful than the ava of a person. Because seichel automatically cools it. So therefore, if you're talking about not what it loves, but just the actual midah of ava by an animal versus a person, the midah of ava by an animal is stronger than it is by a person. The problem is the Nefesh Habamis, normally the ava is to world. But if you can transform that ava of the Nefesh Habamis to want Elokus, that the Nefesh Habamis wants Elokus, that ava that the Nefesh Habamis has is much, much greater than the ava of the Nefesh Elokis, because the actual meat is just stronger. So when you transform it to what it should want and love, so obviously and that's what the pasuk is telling us. Rav Tvus b'koyach shord, so what the Rebbe is saying over here. You want to accomplish a stronger midah, a stronger avas Hashem, it's only through the Nefesh Habamis.
Rabbi, so does that mean the love of a businessman is higher than the love of a Rosh Yeshiva?
No, it depends what he's loving. What says in a Yom that the Mittel Rebbe told us, Rabbi Yehuda, whatever his name was, that I envy you. Because you're in the marketplace and you could say a word of Torah here, a word of Torah there. It's a much greater thing. If the Balabaz has the same love, Talukus, that Rosh Yeshiva has, it's a much greater level because it's coming in the level of darkness. And he's paid to do it, and he's not. Because he says, same thing, L'mayla Chazal tell us, in a place where Bali Tshuva stand, Tzaddik and Gemurim can't stand there. They're not even able to stand in the level where about Tzaddikim can't stand where about Tshuva is. Why? Neisha Bal Tshuva b'cheli yatir is a much stronger level of fear and love. Or b'kerch is Gabbalistic Gadol. Why? Because the Nefesh Habamis comes from the world of Tehu. The Nefesh Habamis comes from the world of Tehu. Nefesh Elokis, like we learned in the other Maimarim, comes from the level of Tikkun. Tehu is greater than Tikkun. So the Nefesh Habamis comes from Tehu, but it comes all the way down. But when you reveal the source, you reveal that the Nefesh Habamis itself loves Elokus. It's much greater. And that's the purpose of the Neshama coming down. The purpose of the Neshama coming down into the world is to become, like Chassidus explains about Tshuva. The neshama in Gan Eden is a level of a tzaddik. No, no body, no yitzhar, no nothing. Now it comes down into the world, so that's the purpose of the neshama coming into the world. Al Rebbe says to tremendous city, there must be a purpose in it. What's the purpose? He says to become greater. Ubachin is teyu, is higher than the level of tikkun. Like it says, Mochel the Hashem Mochel Baritz Edem Lifnei Melach Melech Lifnei Yisod, which is the level of tikkun. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe says now like this. La'avin calls that to understand what this means. In the Isa b'Medrash, it says in the Medrash, Betchila Olav Machshava Livrasa Ilam B'Midas Hadin. Initially, Hashem wanted it, and that doesn't mean, by the way, Hashem changed his mind. Hashem does it right the first time. Initially, Hashem wanted to create the world with Midas Hadin. Rosh Eina Miskayim saw that the world won't be able to last. Shitef Midas Rachmim. Okay, so he put in Midas Rachmim, and that's what the Medrash says. Before, at the beginning of creation, Bereshit Bar Elikim, Vayom Elikim, Vayom Elikim, Vayom Elikim. At the end, it says B'Yom Berei Hashem Elokim Eretz Hashemayim. So Hashem put in Midas Rachmim Yud Kei Vav Kei into Midas Hadin. So he says, "Ein apirush." It doesn't mean, like the world thinks, that Midas Hadin is bechinas tzimtzum umenias hashpah. The Rebbe is saying an interesting thing. Midas Hadin does not mean hiding it or not revealing it, holding it back. Kere bechinas gvura hi achas mimidas of Yisborach. One of the midas, which by definition is sphira, which shining elokus, is the attribute of gvura. So you can't say gvura means hiding elokus, because gvura is one of the midas that reveals elokus. So what does it mean? Or kameshakosu, like it says, L'cha Hashem agdul v'agvura, which are the essence spheres of Atzilus. Hamachayim avmiyan, that create everything. Vaid, he says like this: Hadamu hanefesh, right? Blood is the soul. Sheikar chayis adam hu adam, right? The main life of a person is through the blood, and blood is gvura. So you can't say gvura means concealment. El apirish midas hadin. What it means is midas hadin bechinas gvur loshen takbeidus, powerful shekorach hachayis me'erin tzabarchu. That the power that comes of Elokus, the revelation of Elokus, that comes through the attribute of Gvura, is stronger than the level of Mechinas HaChesed, because Gvura nimshach l'mata mata, but it comes in the level of coldness.
How does blood is hot. Blood is hot.
No, but then when it comes down, he's just showing that blood is Gvura, right? But eventually it comes into, Elokus means it comes into a concealed form where you don't feel Elokus. That's not the analogy of blood. That's how Chassidus explains. It says, when Yitzchak blessed Yaakov, yeah, V'yitan l'cha Elokim mitala shemayim, the greatest of brachas. Yeah? So Chassidus says, why does it say V'yitan l'cha Elokim? Elokim is tzimtzum, so V'yitan l'cha avaya. I mean, Elokim is... So Chassidus explains, no, it doesn't mean concealment. It means powerful, super powerful. the bracha should come down, not in a way of chesed, which is like a little bit trickling. It should come into a powerful way. Because Elokim does not only mean hiding Elokus, it means actually... So what's the problem? When it comes down from a very lofty level, it comes in very powerful down here. The problem is because of the power, it comes to all the way down, 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 so therefore it becomes concealed. But it doesn't mean only that Elokus is concealed. Mash'enkim b'chinas gvura. Shabo achayis me'etzab is gabes rav l'meid, where it becomes very powerful. Okay, me'melech shabo derech ishtalshus l'mata. Therefore, when it comes down, all the way down, it becomes the level of din, meaning... Because it comes down too powerful. Therefore you can't get it. It's like Chassidus explains the expression of Sagi Nohar. A blind person is called Sagi Nohar. Sagi Nahar literally means an abundance of light. It's abundance of light. So the question, why does it use the expression Sagi Nahar? So the answer is because it simply means you want to speak nicely. You don't want to say blind, so you say an abundance of light. Chassidus explained, but it's a Torah expression. So the answer is Sagi Nahar. You know why a person's blind? Because the power of sight that comes from the neshama is too powerful for the keli, and therefore the eye is not a keli because it's broken or sick or whatever, or blemished, whatever. Because so Sagi Nahar is not a lie. Sagi Nahar, and it's an abundance of light, because the revelation is so great, the keli is not a keli for it. And he says that's why Elokim Lepro comes into level of concealment, because it's so powerful, there's no keli for it.
But you say that with Sagi Nahar, maybe the vessel is not broken, but the ore is just way too much.
That's what it means. Either way.
The vessel's not broken, though, I'm saying.
Compared to this power that it needs to get, it's broken. Meaning it's not getting it.
It's on.
So go